Okay. All right, I'm going to call to order the Town of St. Paul Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for April 15th, tax day 2025. It's approximately 7:01. And our first order of business is a roll call. So Eric? Here. Bob? Tammy?
Here.
Carrie?
Here.
And Gary? Here. We have a quorum? So please stand and do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so number 3 is related to public comments for non-public hearing items. So at this time, is there anybody who wants to speak on anything that's on the agenda or in general to the commission?
I would, please.
Okay, go ahead.
I filled out the form.
Please state your name and
Sure.
where you live.
Okay. My name is Sarah Beth Graham. I live at 3525 Lakeway Drive in St. Paul. So at last night's town council meeting, swimming pool ordinances were discussed. Our current pool ordinance 3.06.001 was shown to be inaccurate for residential swimming pools, although residential swimming pools are mentioned in the ordinance. I made copies of that ordinance if you guys want to look at that. So the Texas Health and Safety Code, Chapter 757, that's what's referenced in our current ordinance. That only applies to homeowners associations and apartment complexes. So it doesn't have any relevance to residential swimming pools, only homeowners and HOAs and apartments. So it was determined that our current code had adopted an International Residential, the IRC code from 2016, and that code does have a swimming pool component to it that outlines many of the guidelines needed for homeowners for residential swimming pools. It's not something that's easily searchable on our code website, finding that IRC document. So if you just go to like search and type in swimming pools, that doesn't come up because it's not listed specifically in our ordinance. I have included in the packet a list of the city of Rockwall. They also use the IRC as their kind of, I don't know, I guess gold standard. And so I just listed out how they word that. They just say at the very beginning that for residential swimming pools, they use the IRC instead of that incorrect chapter 757. And then I just gave an example, like in their packet for homeowners that are wanting to build a pool, like the information that they list out, so it's easy to search and it comes up for anybody who may be wanting to build a pool. So since we already have the IRC in place, our current code just needs to make a distinction that residential swimming pools need to utilize that handbook. So if you guys could please consider these items and then discuss updating our ordinance for the council to review, that would be helpful to the citizens of St. Paul. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Does anybody else have any public comments?
Just me. Leah Swanner, 2525 Lavon Parkway. I just looked over the fence ordinance since I didn't get to make the meeting last time. The only few things that I saw, there was one that talked about the price per square foot, like for the permit, and it said smaller ones will be whatever. It didn't have a price or anything, which obviously it's not going to in the ordinance, but I just think it said smaller versus larger. I would just maybe make a little more sense, like a distinction, you know, if it's greater than so many, I don't know how we're going to do it, square feet, whatever we're going to do, or just say it's going to be this per square foot that's covered, just so it's easier for people to understand. Like, I'll be building a fence in the next couple of years, and so that's going to be important to me to know when I go look all that stuff up. Towards the end, or no, it's towards the it was like towards replacement, so I think that was the section that was talking about whether like fixing it or replacing the fence, whatever the case is. We have like a timeline, so if you got, dinged by the code enforcement officer and you had to fix something, everything was really vague. It said, the time frame was whatever was reasonably necessary. So I think that that's a little too, I think that's just too vague. It's too subjective to code enforcement or town administration. For everybody, I think it needs to be maybe a harder and faster, like you have X amount of time. Doesn't mean it can't be revisited on a case-to-case basis, but I think this reasonably necessary, it's gonna look a little wiggy when, I get 2 weeks to fix mine, but Sarah Beth gets, 30 days. I just think it'll get a little wiggy. And then lastly, on the commercial fence, it mentions a most common type of fence material that's used. I think we can omit that. I don't think we need to give people it's fine to give options like these are the accepted materials. I don't know why we have to list what's most common, because my example is I back up to the storage facility that's right here off Parker Road. The front of theirs, they have that really pretty wrought iron. I would hate to give someone the idea of building a fence commercially that chain link is the way to go, because if they already had in their mind this beautiful wrought iron, why would I want to change their mind to chain link? So that's my personal opinion, but anyway, that's it on that. And then the other stuff for the SCP I talk later, right?
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Or you can cover what you want to talk in our various areas. Okay, we will move on to the regular agenda. So the very first one, 5.1. You guys will take a look at the minutes from last meeting. And then once you get to a certain point where you've done it, please provide a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the planning and zoning meeting from March 18th, 2025.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, that's approved. All right, the next thing, we're going to the 5.2, public hearing on zoning request. So can I have a motion from one of you to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that carries with everybody. So the public hearing is now open. So we're going to listen to comment. Anybody have any comments relative to the R1.5 single-family residential request for zoning for the property across the street?
Joel, do you have anything you want to say to Bernie?
Other than this is kind of a formality to make
Yes.
sure that we can, the SUP will be correct. So my understanding is this is a necessary step for us to take.
Yeah, so previously, we've had this discussion before. We have some issues about the zoning map that was adopted in 2021. And we have been advised when the opportunity comes about where we can actually adopt the zoning for a specific tract of land, it would be best for the property owner and for the town to go through that process, even though, and this does align with what's on the zoning map that was approved in 2021 as far as R1.5 zoning. So that's why we're going through this process, to move forward with R1.5 zoning. That's it.
Anybody else have any comments? Any comments? If not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close it. I'll second it.
Sorry, it's a formality. All right.
Yeah.
Did you?
Who seconded
We'll let
He
Eric.
did.
that? Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Okay, it's closed. So amongst us, do you guys have anything, any concerns about declaring that a residential, which,
Am I mistaken? I thought we talked about this.
Yeah, he had come to
Oh,
present, just introduce, et
we're just
cetera,
making sure that it's
before, yeah.
formalized, that it's an R1, that
Okay.
there's nothing really other than that,
Okay.
and at least this part of it.
Yeah,
So if not,
Last time we discussed it was the house being built next door to this.
Would you? Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so the next one.
Yes, it was.
So we're pretty much doing it for every property that comes
Through.
around,
Exactly.
comes through.
okay.
So do we have a recommendation from P and Z to move forward, council, with the zoning?
Do you guys have any issue with it?
No, not at all.
no,
Well,
Should we vote on it as well?
Yes.
Okay, so I move to recommend that the town,
That's right.
this is where,
I move to recommend the town council approve the zoning.
oh, okay, all
Yes.
right, I thought that was the wrong one. I move that, to recommend that the town council approve the zoning of the 2.937 acre parcel on 2601 Parker Road to the R1.5 single family residential district. Can I have that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to move into 5.4, public hearing on the specific use permit for the DFW Connection Point Church. So I need a motion again to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. And so we will now take public comments on the special use permit for the DFW Connection Point Church. So if anybody out there wants to talk?
Yes, so Joel Hoppin, 2601 Parker Road. We are resubmitting this, or submitting a new one just because we've moved it a little bit of the, we've moved it enough to where we needed to resubmit after talking to Scott in the town. And I've been coming to the council meetings now for the past year or so, and I've clearly, or not, I shouldn't say clearly, but I've begun to understand some of the dynamics that have been wrestled with some of the other churches and other organizations that have come. And so, first of all, I try to make myself available just so that the town is comfortable of knowing, hey, I'm present, you can talk to me, ask questions. We also have Martina here, who is from Spires Engineering, and the concerns of parking, the concerns of drainage, all the concerns that we have, that I've heard over the last year. Scott's done a great job also working with us on this SUP to make sure that the town is very comfortable with us providing all the necessary studies, doing everything we can to assure that the town is nothing but enhanced by our presence here, that we're going to make sure that we can be a blessing to this town and not a hindrance. And so we've heard the concerns of other the houses of worship here, and that it's not our desire to inflict any sort of cause like that. And so I just want to say that before we, as you consider it, also just know that the studies and the SUP, I thank Scott for doing just a due diligence, also the mayor as well, of just giving us feedback. And so this process has been way better this time, and so we just thank y'all for that. So other than that, the SUP we think is pretty detailed as far as what we're asking for.
Okay, anybody else out there?
I do. Okay,
Be my guest?
sorry. I tried my best to read the packet, guys, so bear with me. So my first question was, do we have an expiration date on this SUP? Does anybody know? Is this a
Yeah,
temporary one? or
There's
is
an
it a-
expiration date as far as construction. They have to have construction completed by, or started by December of 2026.
Yes.
And then construction has to be completed by December of 2029.
Okay,
But we did not put a time frame
okay,
that the SUP would cease to exist within 2 or 3 years.
okay. So my only thing with that is I just wrote that I think it should, not an expiration date, almost like just a review date. It doesn't have to be yearly, it could be yearly, it could be every 2 years. It sounds like we're kind of on that path, just because I saw that the plans did get modified, which is fine, because I think there was an SUP prior. And with that modification, we just want to make sure that it's still reviewed, we're still on track. Things are going to come up, because that's what construction happens. Things are going to come up, things are going to change, and we just want to make sure that everyone is still staying, everything's still in line. A year is a long time, maybe not in the construction world, but a lot of things can happen in a year, and I would just want to make sure, this is a very big project, so I think it would be good if we can just be aware of what's happening, and it kind of just gives updates that we would have to have. Not have to have, but just to make sure things are working smoothly. From my understanding, the current request is we're rezoning, right, the property from residential to, I think it's Zone F, which is a commercial church use, is that correct? Zone F?
Well, I mean, the
Or-
base zoning, which they just
Which is the
approved,
R1.5.
is a R1.5.
But we're doing the SUP for
Church.
church,
Right.
correct? Okay, so, sorry, I'm trying to read my notes where it doesn't sound as, this sounds a little nasty because that's no. Okay, this is not a permit that it uses the existing structure as an office only, because it constitutes a separate zoning use, if that makes sense. So you've got the existing structure there, it's going to be used as an office, I would assume, while they're in the process of getting all their paperwork together to start construction. I would assume that's what it's going to be used for. But if that doesn't fall under to the umbrella of this church use, because it's not going to be used as a place of worship yet, it's just office space, then that's not what this SUP is for. So I just want to make sure that we know that that those are two separate things. I don't know if they're two separate
Well,
things. I want to
I
make
think
sure they're two
I think it's a
separate
good
things.
point. And I think we need to ask Joel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll get there.
Okay.
I'll finish and then we can definitely do it, because I'm not opposed to church, I love church, so I'm totally game. I'm a little more sensitive because I have been affected by commercial business in my area, so I'm just extra cautious with new things starting and things like that, so that's why I'm a little wiggy. What I would say is, if that's the case, then I would just say we need an additional SUP, just to specifically use it for office space, which I think is fine, but that way we're not, if there was a blurred line, there's no blurred lines. We have, this is the SUP for this space to be the church, we still follow all the other parameters that are needed, but if it's going to be used for office space for a solid year, it's not residential, it's not being used as a place of worship, it's just office space, well then it needs to be categorized for office space, which I think is still fine, because we all know the end goal, but that way we're still following all the right protocols. With that being said, whether it's a separate SUP or it's still under that umbrella, they still need, in order to use it as office space, it still needs to fall under that, make sure that all the commercial standards are met. So that includes but not limited to designated parking spaces, installation of, if we need like the masonry wall, because that's what all commercial businesses have to have if they abut residential properties, and then any other developmental requirements that any commercial business needs. So that means before anyone walks through that door to do any form of business, I think all the parameters need to be met, because I think we're going to blur a lot of lines. We're going to be like, well, we're just taking a box here and there, and then all the lines get blurred, and then all of a sudden it's going to be a full-blown office business for the temporary being, and we didn't do any of those things that we're supposed to have, and it's a commercial use space. And then lastly, you already mentioned it, which is great, just a good drainage plan. Everything's been changed a little bit on there elevation-wise and stuff, and we just want to make sure that it's new, current, up-to-date, especially with all this Parker Road stuff. I think it's just going to be a huge, I don't think it'll be a huge problem. I think it's going to be an important thing to note so that we know it's not going to affect the communities, because we've had a couple homes that have been affected by all these, at least storage structures. It may not be, it's not this type of property, but they've been significantly affected, my in-laws included, and they live on the Lucas side, but either way, it's something that's important so that we don't have any problems in the future. Okay, sorry. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
So I think I'd like to ask Joel, I mean, as far as the office space, is that temporary? Is that going to be permanent?
We use it as an office, my office, that's where I study, basically.
Okay.
And so, and in our previous SUP, it was approved in the SUP to be used for administrative and offices as well. And obviously, when we have the building there, we also would love to use it. And I know that we had questions, it was never made clear to me, but that of the difference between using it as an office for me to study and having a meeting there, whether it was our, men's Bible study or something like that. And so that's where I would just say that, like when we say office, we also, it would be, in my mind at least, if you were to just have a Bible study here or a Bible study at any building, I don't think that would be breaking the
Right.
use of a office building, but we use the building for, not for worship services, but for meetings and stuff like that. But we have been, as far as occupancy and stuff like that, it's, we're talking 6 people, 10 people at the most.
Yeah, Mike Martini with Spires Engineering, 765 Custer Road, Plano. To add on to Joel, what Joel was mentioning, I think it's a valid point. The previous SUP, this is replacing the previous SUP. We don't explicitly have language related to the office, although we have accounted for it with parking, with drainage. So we've accounted for all of that with all of these rules and regulations, and even our site plan, we've parked it per the office. But if we want to clarify, I think it's to everyone's benefit that we add language for the 1,500 square foot, the existing building to be utilized for office/church administration. Because that's how our site plan, that's our intent. And I think just to clarify it, I think we'd be fine with adding that in.
And with, in this SUP that we're, if we alter the square footage of the building, it triggers, and so that's not as far as.
Yeah. And some of there are other triggers, yeah, if we expand, increase density, we did, there is a stipulation in here about requiring the masonry wall, right? So that is part of this SUP explicitly. And so there are triggers if we choose to do or expand things, we will have to come back to the SUP revision at that time, so.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, so again, that's the key though, if it's being used, if the office space, or if you're using it for Bible study or whatever, which is totally fine, once we make this into commercial use, it's got to follow the guidelines. And the problem is, I don't think it may not be fair to ask for you to put up a masonry wall around the whole property tomorrow, to be able to use it tomorrow, but I think it's also unfair to probably any other commercial business that you don't have to follow those same regulations using an office space, and you're not having to do all the things, check off the list to run it as a commercial space. Does that make sense? So I understand the end goal for the whole project is 2029, but this would be a using it right now kind of thing. It's still going to be commercial use, it's still going to be right now. That means tomorrow you could have a Bible study with 50 people.
No, we can't have 50.
I know you can't because it's probably the occupancy, but the idea is that it could happen and we don't have that's the regulation, is that we're using it for these spaces, and you don't have it's all the things. It's the lighting, it's the parking, it's the this, it's the that, all the things that you have to have a commercial building operable in this town based on the ordinances, and that still counts. So that's the only thing I'm saying. Now, they can make exceptions if they want, like that's what the P&Z and the council's for. I'm just saying that's something to be mindful of.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and the minute they get the SUP for the entire property, then that's when it gets converted to commercial. So at any point, anything on there would be subject to that stuff, right? And if you isolated I didn't see I saw the residence on the drawing, so I assumed that was going to be kept, residence for the office.
Yeah.
So, but the minute they get the SUP granted by the council, then that whole property is commercial.
Right, so does that mean it's free to use immediately as commercial property, which is what I take it as?
If you meet the stipulations.
Right, which is fine,
Yeah.
but then again, like I said, that's the stipulations it has to meet as any other business in this area that's commercial
No,
property, right?
I'm not arguing with them. I'm
Yeah.
agreeing with you. I'm
Okay.
just saying that the clock starts.
The minute it
Once
happens,
it becomes an SUP for a church,
right,
then that property over there is then commercial.
immediately does that, okay.
That's what I was just saying. I was
Yeah.
trying to make that statement.
Are you using it now as an office space?
I mean, I go there by myself, I'm the only one there, but.
But then again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but they
Right.
have an SUP today over
Right.
there, so it already is commercial. But if you're replacing the one from the other, we turned it back to residential.
Yeah,
So it seems silly, but it's got to do with the formality, right?
Right.
And then when it gets approved, assuming it gets approved, because they've gone through a lot of work, then it goes back to commercial. So it already is commercial.
I mean, is there any way to have language of, I mean, because obviously we have to build the wall as we start construction, but putting up a wall, I don't even know the order of construction, putting up a wall first before we start, especially if, right now, it's only me, you can't even get, I'm the only one who can get in, my car can barely get into it. I mean, if there's is there a way to say, to allow me to at least read a book without having meetings there, or just, is there a
Right.
temporary,
Kind of limit the use
yeah,
while construction's ongoing where you can't expand it. I think what your concern is will become a full-blown office use before construction's completed.
You just never know.
Right.
And you know what we've been
Right.
through
Right.
around my area, so
Right.
it's just stuff that I'm
Right.
trying to be, it's not anything on y'all's fault. We've had problems before, so now I'm made more aware, and I'm just trying to
So
try to get ahead.
maybe what we need to do, Joel, is add some language in there that the existing house can be used as an office, but it's limited to X capacity and X use
that'd be
while
fine.
construction. So let's say capacity of 5 people,
That'd be fine with me.
and
As long as I
then it
get
can
in
only be used for whatever we outline.
Yeah,
Are you comfortable with that?
I think that would be fine with that, just
Okay.
if that gives more confidence of,
Okay.
but, yeah, right now, the wall is definitely part of the SUP, but I don't know that we would be ready to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the intention, I think, is to utilize it as the office as it currently sits in the scenario that we, this project doesn't happen, it can convert back to a residence, and then we don't build it halfway commercial in the interim condition. So I think we do have a certificate of occupancy that limits the space and use, and so we are currently operating with the CO.
What was the occupancy on that CO?
15,
15?
Yeah.
but like I said, I mean, I think 3 is the most we've had in there in over 6, 7 months since they, so I have no problem saying we'll limit it to just the, worship pastor sometimes comes, he's there too, and so we're pretty much the only ones that use it.
Lee, is there
Yeah.
a certain number you're comfortable with as far as?
It's not even, I
Okay.
don't care what you do, it's just I'm just trying to make sure that everything gets followed by the ordinances and what we have.
Right.
So if that's the CO is 15, that's perfect. Parking spaces or whatever for office, I don't remember what it is for offices.
Right.
So you have parking, you have all those things, you just have to, it's just following all the rules. So, but I also don't want you guys using that for an office for the next let's see, what is it, 2025, so it'll be the next 4 years. And literally not a bit, I know it'll change the SUP because we have to have construction completed by X amount of time and stuff. It's just, I don't want things being pushed off and tweaked and it's still being used, if that makes sense. Like, the end goal is to create this church, which is great. So I want things to move properly and it's not just be,
Yeah.
all right, well, we let 15 in this time and then, oh, a couple more come. Because that's what happens. That's how church works. I love it, but it's just, you got to be extra careful. So however the language needs to be done, that's fine. It's just, it's operational as office use the minute you start. So it's just like all the other places in this town that have to have all the things checked off the boxes. You know, it still has to fall under those same rules.
Yeah.
Kind of like
So-
a regular construction area where they set up like a temporary office.
Yeah.
And whatever the limitations are with that, they bring in the trailer, they set it
Sure,
in.
it could be just
and
like
then
that.
Yeah, so maybe it can mimic that.
So like a
same-
temporary construction, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not
I like
like,
that.
what they did with the 15 people, they didn't make
Yeah.
it any bigger. I mean, you'd use that instead of bringing something in, it makes a lot
Yeah.
more sense
Yeah.
than spending extra money
That's
to bring in a construction site.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
this is
it's
just
a-
like it's a unique circumstance because you already have the place and it's yours, like you want to use it, I totally get it. I'm just trying to make sure, yeah, that it makes sense. That's a great point.
Yeah, it is a good point because, you know, you're really applying for a new SUP. And so, you know, once the council agrees that it goes back to residential, you don't have that SUP anymore. And then as you apply for the new one, you've got to have the language like you had in the last one. And so that's really the point, so, right, that's the point we're making. So it's not like you can continue like you were because you're getting a new SUP, because things have changed, right? I mean, the construction, the whole layout, and I think you have to apply that too, right?
Yeah, I think we're good with adding language. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I could recommend just explicitly adding, because we're only talking about the church and preschool, right? And so if we could explicitly add the use of the 1,500 square foot existing building as for church administration, limited by the certificate of occupancy. And what will happen is if we don't start construction by December 2026, based upon item number 7, then the SUP is subject to town council review. So at 2026, if there's been no construction activity, we're up for review again. And so it's not going to be in perpetuity. So my thought is maybe in item 1, or in the development standards, or maybe we add an item, Scott, that just says we can use it, you know,
Okay.
as a church administration, as it currently sits. Yeah.
What language? Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
For that house/office, where is the septic system for it? Is it in front or behind, next to it?
Right now it's behind.
Right now it's behind?
Well, it looks to be, on
Will there still be room for it with the
to the right.
parking?
The image.
It's still, for the house, it's completely at the other end of the,
That's right here.
Mhm.
for this house, it's completely at the other end of the property?
Yeah, for the septic for the office,
Right.
like what will happen because there's no parking there is your question, I think.
Right,
Or there will be
this was
parking.
changed from the old,
Yeah,
site plan, is the street and parking and stuff goes from the front to the back.
right. So we may end up, we haven't decided if we're gonna link it together to that overall septic field over there, like both buildings get linked together, or if we need to relocate that. At the time of permitting, when we pull our septic permits with the county, we'll have to show the locations of all those and make sure they meet buffer standards from property lines and all that, so. We don't quite know where it will be, if it'll fit there or if we need to move it off to the side a little bit.
So is it in front now then? You know where it is now?
That's right.
I think it's where the parking is.
So it
It's
is,
right where the parking is.
It's right where the parking
Oh,
is,
right
you
now?
can kind of see some
Where it
trees,
is, I don't know.
in the light shade, there's
so
some
it's
trees.
right behind there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember your north entrance in this intersection that's going to be here, the road, Parker Road. Where are we going to have a stoplight at this intersection? I couldn't remember.
There's been discussion about there would be a stoplight up here at St. Paul Road and Parker.
Right,
And then one at Inspiration, one down at Park, and
So not one here at this entrance.
It would be at one of our entrances, the St.
north one.
the stoplight.
Where St. Paul goes and it's going to divert and turn, and right? And that will be right across, we've already had TxDOT align ours with the intersection. So there'll be an intersection and they are discussing a stoplight, but to our understanding, no stoplight has been approved either for Inspiration or for here yet, but both of them are in discussion and hopeful. So hopefully we will have a stoplight into our property there. But that's not in the plans, right? Like our plans, all we know is we are cut right across from where St. Paul Road will be coming out, and then there will be, you'll be able to go left or right. Right, yeah.
All right, any other,
I have one more question, sorry. Don't hate me. On the packet, at the end, it's all the things that are required, like the drainage and all the plans or whatever. Have those all been submitted, or that's what we're still waiting?
So after the SUP is approved, then they'll start moving forward with preparing all this plan.
With all that stuff? So
Right.
before construction can start, does all of that have to be submitted
Yes.
and reviewed?
Yes.
And then who reviews it? Does the PNC
The
review
town-
it again?
The town engineer.
The town engineer, as long as they think it's all good, then it's, okay. I just didn't know the process, I'm sorry, I'm just asking. Thanks.
I have a question. The existing septic is residential. Is that legal to use in a commercial capacity? Even if it's adequate, does it fall under different regulations that would have to be redone or?
For the office?
Yeah. It's just residential septic right now.
Well, so when they go through the process as far as platting the property, the plat will have to go to Development Services in Collin County, where they issue the permit for on-site sewage facilities.
Okay.
They will review the septic system, I believe that's existing for the house. And then if they have, which they're gonna have a different septic system for the church itself, and they'll make that decision if it's adequate. So they have to work with the county on it, at least issuing the on-site sewage facility permit before they move forward.
Okay.
and I think also, Scott, right, it has to be licensed by Collin County, so they'll have to have somebody maintain it. So it just can't one and done thing, right? So they'll have to do that when they go through the process.
we've already engaged a sanitarian, and are in that process already, and just been, moving forward, so.
Any other comments, questions from the public? If not, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Get a motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we jump to 5.5, which is where we can discuss any questions we have. Yeah, what's already been asked. Relative to the special use permit. So any other questions for us, to them, or amongst ourselves?
I will share with you that the SUP has already been reviewed by the town engineer twice. Obviously, DFW connection point has reviewed it on a couple of occasions. The only input I do not have back yet is from the town attorney, hopefully next week. So he hasn't had a chance to look at it. But I'm not expecting really any significant issues. But you have an option. You have an option, either you have a couple options this evening. You can either make a recommendation to move forward with the SUP to council, or you can ask for a special, you can have a special call meeting before council meets in May to come back and make certain that we've implemented the changes that we've discussed tonight, and maybe I will have comments back from the town attorney at that point. So you can either move forward to council, or you can have a special call meeting the next week or two after I insert the changes that we discussed tonight, and more than likely we'll have the town attorney's comments back on it as well.
Would we be able to do that since we have voting that's going to be here? Is there going to?
Well, it's definitely not going to be next week, which is when it's early voting. I think early voting is the Monday of the following week. I have to go back and check. So there will be an opportunity where P&Z can meet before council meets, I think, on May the 12th. So we'd be able to have a special call meeting.
Just
It would
maybe not in
interfere.
this room? Okay.
Yeah, last time we had it in the,
Yeah, we can meet in there as well also.
Okay. I personally think we should wait for at least the verbiage to be updated in the special meeting, but would you be able to attend?
I'm looking at it, it's already approved, they came back, got its own residential property, our request. We hear the verbiage, and it sounds like addressed most everything we talked about. Why would we not push it to city council? That's just mine. That's,
Just to review the verbiage, but I guess if we push it to council, we're going to review that anyway, so.
we just want to make it recommend to them. They make the decision, we just
Right.
recommend it to them.
right.
If you heard, anybody's heard something they didn't like, or had heartburn with, but not like they complied with anything we requested.
Well, and we can also make that statement you said in our recommendation. If we agree with that, that, that verbiage has to exist, be added, and with that, we will recommend it to the council. I know I didn't take any notes. I read it,
It's all recorded.
but we can make a statement like that,
Okay.
which would cover it.
And so we just recommend it with the added verbiage, which is denied to the city council.
Yeah, I
agree.
can,
I mean, it was already,
I'm agreeable with
it
that.
was already approved once, and like you said, it's just kind of like another follow-up of how progress is going, checking up on things. Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, well then, I move to recommend that the town council approve the zoning of the SUP with the added changes that were discussed tonight.
The lawyer's approval.
Hmm?
Have to add the lawyer's approval.
And the lawyer's approval, yes. To operate a church and preschool at 2601 Parker Road.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Congratulations, John.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
good.
I'll send you a revised draft.
Thank you for that.
If not by the end of this week, for the next week.
And then town council would be your.
May 12th, I believe.
Yeah.
I'll double check that.
All right, now the real work begins.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, to move on to 5.6, consideration and action potentially for the fence ordinance. To discuss the possible action regarding a proposed fence ordinance.
Okay, so we have a few things. The price per square footage that we were talking about. That was just, I think,
I think we put that in there because we didn't know what they charge for permits. And if you
Yeah.
got
The
a
placeholder.
3-foot fence by a 3-foot fence, it's like, why would you charge that same thing as a 20-yard fence? So we didn't
Yeah.
know.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's easier to see.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for
And I
the
think,
wording.
correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but once we would approve this? Does it go to the council or does it get reviewed by legal?
I will send it to legal first.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
good.
if there's any problems with legal, like if we wrote something in there that violates the law, well, we can't, we can't.
Move forward with it.
Right,
That's
right.
good.
So, that's what I thought. So there's some in there, you brought up a couple. One was the length of it, we didn't know what to charge, because I don't know what they charge for a permit today.
No.
But it just seemed unfair, with a little tiny fence and then a,
Yeah, and I don't think it needs to say the price in the ordinance, because I think we do, for permits and stuff, for other things, it's based on like for building permits, I know it's based on like, how big your house is.
Right.
It'll have a parameter like up to,
Square footage.
yeah, whatever the square foot is, and it may not be, by the square foot calculation, it could be up to a certain amount, and then anything over that amount might be two separate prices. All that's, it doesn't matter to me either way, I just wanted it to be a little more clear than whatever
Typically,
that was.
I mean, sometimes, I don't know this one, you'll have all your fees like on a master fee schedule. Typically, council typically would review their master fee schedule every year. That's where you keep them. So you have a master fee schedule. You usually don't put them specifically
Okay.
in the
Right,
ordinance
right.
itself. But that's something that, obviously, that, we present to council what that fee structure would look like for a mass permit.
Well, the fee structure is really based on what it's going to cost our inspector to go
Right.
inspect it and the
Right.
time he's going to spend
Right.
looking at it, compensate or offset.
That's
what
right.
The time they spend on doing that.
Absolutely.
So that's on page 2 of 5, under the permits, and it's B. So do we want to remove it from here and just present to council that,
I would. Because,
just take out permit.
yeah, we,
Mhm.
if you look at the schedule we have right now, we have a fence permit in there. It may adjust a little bit. I don't see that. We'll evaluate it. We have several fees that we need to evaluate and go back and adopt a new master fee schedule. But it's all one schedule for everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just trying to be fair.
yeah.
We probably overthought it.
And the next one is, if you get a, like a finding on your fencing, reasonably necessary. So that's probably going to be,
Where's that?
I can't remember where it's at, I had it.
it is on page 4 of 5, under 307008, in section 4, kinda, like 5 or 6 sentences from the bottom. It says the town administrator or enforcement officer shall not extend the replacement
yeah.
time longer than reasonably necessary.
Okay.
Is that,
And we want something hard, fast as far as.
Well, we started off with 60 days, but
Right.
then we figured if that wasn't enough, then they would send a letter, notify you guys, and you would extend it, potentially. But then again, into like, what is, extended to what, 6 months? So we
Yeah.
again got lost in what is normal.
It depends upon who it is.
So that's what I don't want it to be, right? But I think it could be,
If it's a swamp, forget it.
You're right.
Let me take Scott
don't
off
make my
here.
face.
No, but if it's a Perez, absolutely, give them.
Right.
That's so true.
Yeah, what is usual when it comes to fence permits? Well, when there's a date, we don't really have that right now, right?
Usually when you issue a permit, there is a time frame.
Used to be 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
180 days.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, this is if they're out of compliance, like if there's, their fence is leaning over. How long do we currently,
Usually that would be a code enforcement issue. Whatever letter is sent, whatever our code enforcement process will be here in the near future.
Right.
They would have X number of days to resolve that issue. So whatever our code procedures are going to be here in the near future,
We
our
base it
code
off of
enforcement
that.
officer would send them a letter, hey, you're in non-compliance, you have 20, 30 days, whatever we outline here as far as steps with our new municipal court and code procedures.
okay, so we don't need that here either?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Okay, so do we need to remove the whole 378? Or just that 4 part?
I would
Like, what-
remove all of 378. I would maybe,
Like what falls under under the building, the code,
Mhm.
maybe this is already there, or maybe we take this and put it in there.
I think it's
Let me
still,
reword that section. I mean, if this is the only section that we're having heartburn on,
Well, there's two, so
Okay.
it's that one, and then it's somewhat repeated for the commercial, which is 3710, A. And it's again about, it's almost the same
I think 9, not 10,
verbiage.
I think it's 9.
Oh, is there 9 as
Well,
well?
it's 9, I think, right?
Well, I see reasonably necessary under
Oh,
10,
unsafe,
but,
that's for unsafe fence and then commercial fence, I thought that's what you said, but, okay, no, it isn't in the commercial one.
yes. Oh, it's the unsafe
Right.
abatement.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay,
was
okay,
it,
okay,
unsafe
sorry,
one.
yeah.
And
And
of
then-
course, we gotta take out the commonly used chain link.
Yes.
where's
And where is that at? Oh,
It's-
that's under 9.
it's under 9.
Yeah, it's in 9.
Wait, where's one?
Now, Carrie, is there anything else that
Oh, there it is.
we might have glaringly missed in the commercial? Is there any, like, signs that are needed, additional signs? Anything we missed that you were aware of? No? I'm just asking because you probably saw more commercial fences than I have. Well, you wait for Encore, right? So that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, they
That'd be
overbuild,
funny here.
they overbuild everything, so. But they have to because what they're keeping people out of stuff.
Yeah, so if there was something missing, you probably would have seen it. That's okay? All right, so,
I think there's the error in wording at one point here when it talks about on page 4 of 5, C, the barbed wire, restrained livestock. The lowest strand, page 4 of 5, C.
no, 4, that's why I didn't see it.
The lowest strand of barbed wire is not less than 6 1/2 feet above ground. Is that supposed to be inches, maybe?
No, that's the commercial barbed wire. So it may be in the wrong section.
Oh,
Where was that? You said,
yeah, 4, 5, C at the top.
oh, here?
Mhm.
See, that's commercial. It's in the wrong area. I didn't move it. See the commercial? On a commercial or industrial property where the
Restrained
road.
livestock on a commercial property.
Well, I removed part of it, but not the other. That was part of my comedy here. I think the first part probably, it's not, you don't get 6 foot, you got an awful tall cow.
Yeah, that's a whole bunch of.
That was weird, yeah.
That was meant for
Walking
commercial.
it up.
That was meant for commercial.
So that means that you're.
So Scott, that needs to be fixed too.
Yes.
Because that was, the one part was for commercial. That's why the height. Anything else? So Scott, are you gonna take a,
What I would recommend, I don't think there's a sense of urgency. What I'd like to go back and make these changes, but I'd also like to forward it to the town attorney.
Yeah,
Yes.
Get his feedback before you forward it to council.
that's
Okay.
that's where I was gonna go.
I'll be good.
So what I'll do is make changes to it, send it out to everybody on P and Z, our next meeting in May. We should be good to go.
Yeah.
And then you can make a very strong recommendation to council at that point. So consider approval.
Okay, so we're done with that. Can we go to 5.7, the pool ordinance amendment, which we kind of had at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes.
I mean, I never looked at the pool ordinance thing in the town, so I have no idea that it was wrong.
Right.
You know, but
Gary, can I stop you for a minute?
Sure.
So when we have an agenda item, I know this is going to sound picky, but when you have an agenda item and we're not going to take any action on it, we need to take action as far as tabling it and letting the public know when it's coming back.
Okay.
Okay.
So you need to make a
Previous
motion that
one,
you're going to
okay.
table it until the next P and Z meeting, which is in May. I don't have the date.
It's the
It's
third
the third
weekend,
one, right?
third Tuesday in May, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's gonna be the 20th.
And so you're letting the public know that you're tabling the item, so they have a right. If they want to either listen to the video or be at the meeting, they can be present.
So they're aware of what's going to
Right,
happen.
right.
Okay, so then for 5.6, I will make a motion on the fence ordinance to table that for this meeting. There will be some adjustments made, some verbiage adjustments, and then it will be sent to the town attorney. And we will bring it up again in the May 20th P&Z meeting.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, sorry. I saw the last thing in line, I got excited.
Here, bro.
Just go get it.
All right, so now, 5.7, we'll move on. Discussion of the pool ordinance amendment. Does anybody want to have any thoughts on that? I think Sarah Beth, was that her name?
Yeah,
Yes.
she
I
did a
think she
great
had brought up
job.
some very good points, and I think we should go look at that before we do anything, try to find out what, the international code.
So I'll
And
get
Suzanne's
with-
better thing, yes, I can't tell you what was in there.
One, I will get with our inspectors, Bill Vertos, but also with Travis, who's our code enforcement officer.
Yeah.
Work on the language, make certain we're all on the same page, share it with the town attorney, then bring it back to you hopefully on May 20th as well.
Can we do one other thing with Travis? Can we also have him look at the fence ordinance?
Sure.
Because I was hoping we would have that done by tonight, but I don't think it was ever showed to him. At
So
least
I'll prepare edits for the fence ordinance, send it out to everybody real quick,
Yeah,
probably by the end of next week.
Because he'll look at it from a little different eye,
Right.
because he's going to enforce it.
well,
Right.
yeah, that was it. So he has to enforce it. What are his problems today? Do we cover it?
Right.
Or is there something we
There's
missed?
something he wants us to add that would help him do his job and
That-
everything.
That's it.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's good. All right, anyway. Any other discussion points on the pool ordinance? Or are you going, did you volunteer to?
I'll work on it,
Okay, all
absolutely.
right. All right, any other suggestions relative to the pool ordinance that we have? If not,
Table.
all right, then I guess I'll make a motion to table the pool ordinance. Also till the May 20th P&Z meeting, where we will probably have done some revisions and stuff like that. Scott's going to work on it.
I'll have the attorney review that as well.
Yes.
An attorney will review it. So-
And Travis.
And Travis, yes. So can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. All right, that was 100%. We ready to go to 6? I can wait 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're ready.
Well, does somebody want to give me a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
I will not be here on the 20th. Do you want to?
I will also not be.
Okay, what about Bob?
What about Bob? He's a movie, wasn't he?
I will
Do
be
we have
out of
another
town.
Nope. I'm all you got.
Okay.
I can see if I can move my shift. I just went on vacation the week before, so they slammed me the week after.
That brings up a question, Scott. Do we ever hear from Megan or Freddie? We might want to, can we take action to maybe look for a couple more?
We'll-
Or can you go to the council? And
Yeah,
since the other
I'll
one's
talk to
appointed,
Ken about it, and I'm certain he
Just
has.
mention that they haven't been for quite a while, and
Absolutely. I'll talk to him about it.
Have they been contacted?
whether in every email,
Yeah.
except for maybe the one I sent.
But I mean, if there's someone that's not going to make it, have they been asked to?
Well, I
No.
remember Federico was in construction and he was traveling. I think he was traveling away from here. Megan I've seen, but
So I'll reach out to them and see if they still have interest in serving as an alternate and let them know. If not, we need to replace them.
all right, well, thanks everybody for your time.
All right, thank you.